Dear friends, heartily welcome to the Global Opportunity Explorer Day 2019. On behalf of BI, UN Global Compact, Sustainia, and DNVGL, and together with all the partners, we wish you a really heartily welcome to this Opportunity Day. The IPCC report challenged us. They told us the brutal facts. The climate change is already here. In Paris, the world managed to agree, and they followed up in Katowice, developing the regulatory regime to say how. And now it's about time to act. Kofi Annan challenged the business world when we developed the UN Millennium Goals to follow the human rights, the environmental declarations, the ILO conventions, and to fight corruption. And when we went from the UN Millennium Goals to the 17th Sustainable Development Goals, that was through a process where authorities, business, civil society, and research defined the 17th goals. We have to follow up to achieve the goals within 2030. And every year, we see that people meet in a valley in Davos, and the World Economic Forum present the risk report. So we thought it was important to turn a coin, to go from risks to opportunities by lifting up all the sustainable solutions. That's why the Global Opportunity reports were developed. And then it was important for us to see how can we open up a community where everyone can take part, transparent, where all the sustainable solutions are presented, and we actually can do the matchmaking to move faster and better. And the 17th SDG is actually partnership. Because we realize that we will not make it alone. We have to work together. That's why we are so pleased to be here today. That's why not only all the people present in the room, but since it's live streamed to the rest of the world, they can follow up and be inspired by all the solutions that will be presented here today. And one very important sustainable development goal is education. Education is vital for us to develop sustainable societies and focus on resilience. So that's why I'm so happy that I can present our host today, the president and the rector of BI, Ingejan Henjesand, that will tell us about the strategy of education for BI. Please welcome.
Thank you, Sven, and welcome to all of you. It's very nice to see so many of you here today, and also to all the people looking at this, listening to this from all over the globe, I hope. I'd like to start by sharing a personal story. And I've been part of discussions about sustainability or ethics or responsibility and all these issues since I think in the beginning of the 90s, when I was a PhD student at the other business school in Norway, one of the other business schools at the other side of the mountains. Also a good business school, of course. And then at that time, and also I think, and I think that it still is some like this at some institutions, and that is, it was not difficult to find people that really was burning for these issues in the organization. And I remember that it was very easy to say that, okay, they take care of it. And then the rest of the organization goes on with what we do every day anyway. In 2005 and 2006, I was acting president here at BI. And in February, I think, and Sven was attending, there was a delegation with the Norwegian king and queen to Switzerland. And there was, in relation to this, there was a conference at St. Gallen, University of St. Gallen. And the topic was sustainability. And I was asked to sit in front of an audience like this and talk about challenges for business schools. And before I went on stage, I was told that, okay, when the king enters the room, you have to stop talking. And when I started, and I said that, oh, if this had been 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago, I would have known exactly as much as any faculty at the business school, not very much. And then the king entered the room, and I was kind of saved by the king in that occasion. So I don't think that, of course, I'm very fond of the king in Norway, of course, but I don't think that we should rely on the king in order to save us from these issues as a business school, or any other institutions as well. And when I came back in 2014 as the president of BI, I established what we call the Sustainability Council. And actually, I have to say that it was kind of a defensive move in order to kind of have my back free. And then I realized that that was not a very good way of using this kind of institution. So when, and I've been working with BI strategy and we are working with it for at least perhaps 2 years, because it takes time. And when you make a strategy, it's important to have people remember what you mean. So on the front page of the strategy, it's really what the strategy is all about. So shaping people and business for an international, digital and sustainable future. That's what is expected from us as a business school, both from students that want to go to business education and also for employers that want to hire these people. So we have to do this. And we have to do more than do it because someone asks us to do it. We have to do it because it's important for society and it's important for us as a business school. And there are more than 15,000 business schools in the world, so it's also important to say that what we are going to do on the upper side of the picture needs to be funded on the lower part of the picture. We have to be research-based in this area, we have to be learning-oriented, and we have to be connected. So being part of this event and Global Opportunity Explorer is a way for us to be connected in these issues. And of course, in order to really make this, it's important to have people that really care about this and are kind of idealists in this topic. That is important in every area. But it's also important to have a strategic foundation and have it as an important issue. That's why it's on the front page of the strategy. And in order to make it not only on the front page, but also integrated in what we are doing, it's important to define what sustainability is. And I think that there are different ways of doing that. We have been part of principle for responsible management education for years. I think the UN Sustainability Development Goals are one good way of discussing it when we have something in common to discuss when we talk about sustainability. And also, as an institution, we have challenged ourselves about what goals should we really work for. And in addition to look at all the UN Sustainability Development Goals in our programs, we, as an institution, we, of course, quality education, we have gender equality, and we have climate. And I can tell a lot of things about every of these issues, but I have no time for that. But it's to not make it as something that someone in the organization take care of. It's important for us to have it integrated in what we do. So I am responsible, the management team, in what they have, their responsibilities. This is something that we have to discuss and take really serious in the organization. So we have to develop goals and measures. We have to establish much more knowledge about what we are talking about. We have to understand the implications, and we have to have goals and action plans in order to really make this happen. And of course, indicators to see that have we made progress in what we are doing. And reporting and communication is a part of it. And the Global Opportunity Explorer is one way of communicating, PRME, and other ways of doing that. And finally, we have established a sustainability support team in order to facilitate discussions, to help enhancing the understanding of what this is in the organization, both in terms of research, in terms of programs, and in terms of how we run our institution. So basically, there are four issues, or four kind of areas where we focus. One is, of course, in the research, and it's not. We have academic freedom also at BI. So I cannot say to a researcher that you have to do this, but I can say that perhaps you should challenge yourself about what is in the sustainability goals and how this affects your research, the topics that you see, your variables and so on. That is something I can do. The curriculum in the programs, the learning goals. The most systematic way that we can do this for our students is to integrate it in the learning goals. Because when we do that, we also have to have learning activities to follow up the learning goals. And we have to have a way of evaluating if the students have achieved the skills that we want to achieve according to the learning goals. So that is important both in terms of candidate profiles and how we set up our courses. The operations, I think that is perhaps the easiest way. Not the easiest, but the area that I think we have made most progress for the last years. This building, when it was built in opened in 2005, was really a kind of good climate building. We opened a new building in Trondheim 1 year ago in August, which is climate positive. Actually, we have solar panels on the floor, on the roof, not on the floor. We could have them on the floor as well, but on the roof. And because we are not able to put the surplus power into the system, we put it into the bus that stops outside, so we charge the bus with energy from BI. So we do what we can. And also collaboration, partnerships like what we are witnessing today, and of course the students and the alumni. The students are a lot of energy from the students. The energy gets renewed every year. So we have to work, and I think we have a very good cooperation with the students in not only in this issue, but in a lot of issues. But this is something that really is something that the students are very eager that we do together. So this is a very short story about BI strategy, what we are doing in terms of sustainability, and I think we are on a good path for the future. But we have still a lot to do. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Inge-Jan. We will have a panel later today where we will continue to discuss the future of education with the director from the University of Oslo, the director from the University of Life Science, and definitely also the chairwoman for the Students' Union here, which is also well connected to student unions other places. So this is a very important discussion we have not seen so many times before. Now I'm very happy to present the CEO and president of DNVGL, the company established already in 1864 and with this purpose of safeguarding life, property and the environment. And with this unique vision to have a global impact for safe and sustainable future. And Remi Eriksen will tell us also how to do the transition smarter, safer, and greener, and how we can turn the risks into opportunities. So please give him a big hand.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the historian Yuval Noah Harari reminds us that what makes humans uniquely human is fiction and collaboration. The many solutions featured on the Global Opportunity Explorer are hopefully not fictional, but each one of them is a fantastic and inspiring story. Each is an insight into the epic, ongoing fight and struggle to turn risks into opportunity. As for collaboration, well, the world is facing so many risks that are so large and so complex that they cannot be tackled alone. The underlying logic of the Explorer, the Global Opportunity Explorer, is to connect ideas with backers and to create a community in pursuit of a world with sustaining solutions. This is the 5th year since the UN Global Compact and Sustainia and DNVGL took the initiative to launch the Global Opportunity Concept. The Global Opportunity Concept. And I'm humbled and delighted to see how far and how much this has grown over the past 5 years. There are, of course, some great new shoulders at the wheel to move this forward, and it's happy to see, and the warmest welcome to our partners. They include our host today, BI Norwegian Business School, and all 11 organizations that are featured on this slide behind me. As SDG number 17 constantly reminds us, is that partnership is the name of the game. Partnership between actors that have different shapes and sizes, but who shares the same passion for delivering a decent quality of life to all humanity in a way that does not harm and jeopardize our planet's life-supporting systems. And the passion is sorely needed by our spaceship Earth, and also, ladies and gentlemen, all its crew, to course correct us into a more sustainable future. Given the mounting evidence of climate disturbance, it came as no surprise that the World Economic Forum survey this year found that climate change is the leading concern of the forum participants. As UN Secretary General Guterres said in Davos, climate change is running faster than we are. He also said that he believes we are losing the race and that nations are not acting swiftly enough. A grim picture, I would say. And so where is hope to be found in all this? Well, I'm an optimist. But even on the sunniest days, I must agree with Secretary General Gutierrez that political systems alone are unlikely to deliver the required trade-offs. However, I also strongly believe that through ingenuity and technology, we have a chance of doing so. Humanity is defined to a large extent by the tools that we use. Right from the Homo habilis, the handyman at the beginning of the Stone Age, and perhaps future generations look back on this generation and be kind enough to say that this was the beginning of the age of efficiency. As we at DMVGL outline in our recent energy transition outlook, efficiency is the greatest and the cheapest source of energy available to humanity. It is not the only solution, but it's by far the best means we have available of heading off dangerous climate change. That is why it's so uplifting to see so many of the solutions featured on the Global Opportunity Explorer that are doing more and better with less energy and with more brains and with more technology. As someone at the helm of a world-leading assurance and risk management company, I should be, by nature, be a pessimist. But I'm not. As I've said, I'm an optimist. And at DMVGL, we have long recognized that risk and opportunities are two sides of the same coin. We at DMVGL look forward to working with our Opportunity Explorer partners in telling the story of how to reach a better future together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Remi, for being an optimist. And I can tell you, we are now hopeful for the future. It is important to be encouraged, to push and to move in the right direction. And you have always supported those projects. Thank you so much. Our Prime Minister, Erna Solberg, is a co-chair for the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. She has always supported us on behalf of Norway in the Global Opportunity Reports and in the establishing of the Explorer, lifting up the solutions. And she also realized that you cannot only tell what business and civil society should do, you also have to deliver through the channels of authorities. How to facilitate, how to partner up, how to invest, how to take the right initiatives in Norway and in the rest of the world. We are very pleased to have with us the State Secretary from the Climate and Department of Climate and Environment, Sveinung Rotevatn. Please give him a big hand.
We need
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here to speak at your conference. And the topic of the conference is highly relevant both for our work in the ministry and in the government as a whole. Now, in 2015, all UN member states agreed on the Sustainable Development Goals. By 2030, our global community has committed to achieving sustainable development in its three dimensions: economic, social, and environmental, in a balanced and integrated manner, as they say. So, in other words, the Sustainable Development Goals are an invitation to developing innovative ideas, partnerships, Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to be here at this. All right. So you heard most of what I said, I hope. All right, I'll just keep going then. So as I was saying, in other words, the Sustainable Development Goals are an invitation to developing innovative ideas and partnerships, and they speak to our ability to seek new solutions. Goal number 13, climate action, is compelling us to innovate and to think about how to sustain growth and welfare at the same time. Climate change means climate risk. Climate change presents not only physical risk, but also transition risk, the risk associated with economic impacts of the transition to a low-carbon economy. Now, the only relevant tool for reducing the risk of climate change is climate policies. This, together with technological development, is critical to eliminate carbon emissions. But we also need to understand the risk itself, to understand how it affects the Norwegian economy is of key importance to the Norwegian government. So in 2017, we appointed an expert commission to assess climate-related risk factors and their significance for the Norwegian economy. Their report was received by the Ministry of Finance this December. Now, it concludes that Norway is fairly well placed to manage climate risk, but that the implications of major climate change are potentially severe and challenging to imagine. And there is also a huge room of opportunity for us to succeed, but we can also imagine a future where climate change escalates and where processes escalate and cannot be stopped and certainly cannot be curtailed within the 2-degree goal, not to say the 1.5-degree goal. So success in implementing Sustainable Development Goals depends on our consistent and accountable follow-up. The 2030 Agenda is a strategic priority for this government. Norway was actively involved in the development of the Sustainable Development Goals, and we continue to have a great interest in them, not least due to the leading role of our Prime Minister, who is co-chair of the Sustainable Development Goals Advocacy Group. We have taken important steps to identify challenges and integrate reporting of Sustainable Development Goals into the annual budget documents from the government. Each of the 17 goals have been assigned to a ministry to follow up and coordinate with stakeholders. The ministries report in the annual budget, and in addition, the Ministry of Finance gives a complete account in the national budget. UN reports and various international indexes show that Norway ranks high in terms of global implementation of the development goals. At the same time, implementing the 2030 Agenda is demanding for us as well. One example is food and food waste, which is of particular concern in the national implementation of Goal number 12, which accounts for sustainable consumption and production, Goal 2 on zero hunger, and Goal 14 on life below water. Edible food goes to waste every year in Norway, most of it by consumers, but also by the food and service industries and retailers. A voluntary bilateral agreement between the food industry and the government commits all parties to reduce waste. The agreement covers the entire value chain. Furthermore, by supporting an industry initiative called Matvett, the government is helping to raise awareness and share knowledge about food waste with both consumers and the food industry. Industries and retailers participating in the initiative have reported on a reduction in the generation of food waste. It is increasingly clear that business has an important part to play in implementation, but also in identifying actions and finding solutions. When it comes to environmental policies, I believe in the market. But the market sometimes needs some help to establish ways and new ways of production. And here government certainly has a role to play. A lot of people are familiar with the leading role that Norway has taken in incentivizing electric vehicles, where we are leading the world and where now over 40% of new cars sold are electric zero-emission vehicles. Another good example that isn't that known to a lot of people is what we're doing in the maritime sector. In 2015, we got the world's first electric car ferry in Norway, on the west coast, of course. It was called Ampere. This was initially a development project with a close dialogue between the private sector and the public sector. The government stated that it wanted a zero-emission ferry, and the private sector was invited to plan how they could deliver it. This was the start of what many have called and are calling an electric revolution in the Norwegian ferry sector. Today, as a rule, we require zero and low emission technology for all new public tenders for car ferries. By 2021, we expect that 1/3 of Norwegian car ferries will have battery technology. And in 2021, we hope to also see the first hydrogen-fueled ferry. There are larger and larger battery packs coming into larger and larger ships. And because of the growing demand for batteries, facilities for battery manufacturing are now established in Norway. Last week, Prime Minister Solberg opened Siemens' new facility in Trondheim. The Norwegian maritime sector is also venturing into autonomous shipping. Next year, we hope to see the world's first autonomous electric cargo ship, the Yara Birkeland. The project, led by the companies Yara and Kongsberg Gruppen, has received public support of 133 million kroner. When the public sector, civil society, universities, and the private sector all do their part and all pull in the same direction, reaching the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030 will hopefully no longer just be a vision, but be reality. The goals are a source of inspiration, but they're also a tremendous laboratory of innovation, a transformative agenda that calls upon the institutions we represent to design new solutions to the old challenges faced by society and build a better future for upcoming generations. Meeting all these 17 Sustainable Development Goals by 2030 will be a huge challenge. But as is often the case with huge challenges, they also offer great opportunities for new partnerships, for new businesses, for new policies, and for new knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I also know that Norway was very active in the last critical part of Katowice to get the regulatory regime into an agreement and to practice, which is extremely important. It's the way we follow up, because we all know that we have to do better, smarter, and faster. The transition must go better if we are going to succeed within 2030 altogether. I referred to the initiative from the Secretary General in the UN at that time, Kofi Annan, the way he challenged the business world, and about the establishment of the UN Global Compact. We are so pleased to have with us the CEO and the Executive Director of UN Global Compact, Lise Kingo, with us here today. She motivates us, she encourages us, she challenges us, and she does that with businesses on all continents around the world. And she tells also that this is good for people, good for the environment, but it's definitely good for business as well. Please welcome Lise Kingo.
Hello, everyone. I'm so delighted to be here today. It's really exciting. I cannot imagine a better venue to celebrate the 5th Global Opportunity Explorer report that we have done together with our great partners through many years, DNVGL and Sustainia. So why is this the best place in the world to launch such a report? Because it's all about breakthrough innovation. It's all about young people and your energy, and it's all about ambition. And I really sense that we have all of these components in the room today. So you already heard from Sven that it's now more than 3 years ago since the global goals, the Sustainable Development Goals, were adopted at the UN. And a month later, the Paris Climate Agreement. The world has changed quite a lot in those 3 years. And the planets are not quite as aligned as they used to be. But fortunately, it's quite easy to take stock on how we are doing on the 17 goals. Because like in any other balanced scorecard, they have a set of indicators we can look at and determine quite clearly if we are living up to the goals, if we see the progress that we need to see or not. So a quick snapshot after 3 years is, many of the goals that Kofi Annan launched, the Millennium Development Goals, are actually faring pretty well. So more people have access to affordable energy, child mortality is going down, many of the more traditional development areas. What is not going so well is some of the new areas that have been added to the goals that really require the input of all stakeholders in the world. So there are 2 areas where we see huge gaps. One of them is climate change that is spilling over into the state of our ocean and also to climate migration across the world, illustrated the interconnectedness of the goals. The second area where we have a huge gap is on inequality. Many things have improved, but in terms of gender equality, we are moving backwards. In terms of young people having access to school, to education, to work, we have 1.4 billion young people in the world that don't have that sort of opportunities today. And also in the global supply chain, where more than 80% of all trade in the world goes through, we have significant challenges with decent work and basically living up to ILO conventions in this area. So that's the situation, that's the challenges that we have to deal with. But again, in our group, we like to look at risks as opportunities as well. So if we look through a positive lens, one thing I want to emphasize is that in the UN Global Compact, close to 10,000 companies have joined us over the years, large and small throughout the world. And we know that 80% of these companies have already started adopting the goals. So I think that's a piece of very good news. Also, in terms of the gender gap, there would be a $28 trillion upside to the global GDP if we could activate women and give them equal opportunity to participate in the economy across the world. That's a great opportunity, and it would contribute hugely to making the goals a reality. Bold climate action at a global level could bring 26 trillion more economic gain into the global economy. we could save 700,000 people that are dying from air pollution today, and we could generate probably more than 65 million jobs in additional in the low carbon area. So as you see, there are many, many opportunities. So it's all there in front of us, the challenges and the opportunities. So, what has happened lately that we should reflect upon? First of all, the IPCC report came out a few months ago, actually with a set of really shocking new data, which means that it's not enough anymore to aim for a 2-degree future scenario. We have to go for a 1.5 degrees scenario. So all the companies in the world that are setting science-based targets will now have to adopt 1.5 degree. But again, it's an interesting number. What does it mean? In very concrete terms, it means that we will have to slash 45% of all greenhouse gases within 12 years. Do you think we can do that with incremental innovation? No. We will need breakthrough innovation. We will need to be very, very ambitious. So what else is new? Have any of you met or heard about the young lady in this picture? Yeah. So why is she sitting next to the Secretary General of the UN? And why was everybody in Davos talking about Greta? Because she is symbolizing that young people are losing their patience, that young people want to be part of setting the agenda on climate going forward. On Friday in Copenhagen, we had a very nice event like this about young business entrepreneurs. Outside in front of the Rådhus, there was a big demonstration for young people against climate or for taking action on climate. I think this is a new trend we have to be very aware about, that activism on climate change is becoming more and more serious. So the reason why I'm so happy to be here with all of you young guys today is that we really have to get our act together. We have to all work together. The experienced business people in the front row and all of you that will have to live in this world in another 50 to 100 years. So that's important, the leadership and the ambition. So disrupting business as usual and beginning to do business unusual is a challenge that I think all business leaders have today. And in the UN Global Compact, when I meet business leaders across the world, I see them taking this challenge very seriously. The only problem is that we are talking to too few business leaders. We need to scale up the business leaders, the companies that are involved in this movement. So I was telling you that in Compact we have 10,000 companies. We are the biggest sustainable business initiative in the world. There is about 3,000 companies that have really taken action on the Paris Agreement. They are setting science-based targets. They are setting internal carbon pricing. Among these 3,000 companies, close to 400 are investors that are pushing the companies they have invested in to also adhere to the Paris Agreement. But it's too few companies. We need to scale up and we need to get this word out to many more companies across the world, making business unusual the new way of doing business. So how can we do that? I think it's not about having 17 goals that we deal with as a global balance scorecard. No, that's fine. But what will really make the difference is leadership. It's people like the late Kofi Annan who embodies this entire thinking, who can articulate what this is all about. Because it's not about numbers and costs and balance sheets. It's about our future. It's about humans. So I want to take the opportunity, now that we talk about real leadership, to thank the Norwegian government and Erna Solberg for the leadership that she has shown on this entire 2030 agenda since it was coined. We are in Norway today, but I just want you to know that many other countries are really encouraged to see how you are faring in this country, and I think you should be applauded for that. We really need to give a human face to the global market, each of us illustrating what the global goals means for us as individuals from each our platform. So, the next milestone on climate will happen soon. And I want to invite all of you to be part of that. It will happen on the 23rd of September in New York at the UN. It will be the Secretary General's Climate Summit. What we will bring there from the Global Compact with all our friends and companies and civil society is strong ideas on carbon pricing, on science-based targets, but also about a new topic I would like to mention briefly. It's a concept that we call the ambition loop. And it simply means how businesses and governments can work closer together, reinforcing each other in the good ideas that business gets, the governments picking it up, supporting it, creating regulations around it, making a sort of upward spiral. So here in Norway, you might say, so why is that necessary? Because the dialogue between the government and business is good here. But we have investigated 20 different countries across the world, also in developing countries, how the dialogue is panning out around climate change, how the country action plans are actually including business. And it doesn't look good. There's a disconnect between the communication of the political system and the business sector in many countries. And we feel by really putting a focus for how to making that dialogue work much better and create ambition loops can help create a set of much more ambitious climate country plans when they have to be renewed in a year from now. So that's a new theme that we think is sort of quite important. So here you see some of or the main themes that the Secretary General wished to discuss in September. And they are all themes that will need to take a huge jump forward if we want to maintain the level of 1.5 degrees and that scenario. So energy transition, climate finance, carbon pricing, industry transition, nature-based solutions, cities, resilience, and we at the Global Compact will ensure that businesses and companies are represented across the whole chain, showing how risks can be turned into opportunities. And with those words, Rasmus Schødt-Petersen, please join me on stage and give us a little bit more information on how you plan to roll out the report.
It's absolutely wonderful to be here, and thank you for hosting. It is. It's absolutely wonderful to be here. Thank you for hosting. I'm talking, and it works. Wonderful. Thank you. You don't need to applaud once more. And thank you, Lisa, for the very nice introduction. In front of you, you have the latest of our combined works. And it's a glimpse into what you can find on the Global Opportunity Explorer, which is an ecosystem for sustainable solutions. And I encourage you to flip through the pages and take out your smartphones and open the camera and then go to some of the QR codes where you can go to an even greater depth of each of the solutions that are presented in very short, brief form. Sometimes it's the lifetime of a company that is presented in few lines, a picture, and a headline. So I really encourage you to go there. There are so much information and knowledge and stories to be found. But there are also some of these leaders that we are all looking to for guidance. And many of you are in the room here. Some of you are young leaders. You haven't even discovered that you are actually going to be a leader. Maybe you are leaders in your own right, and others are already corporate leaders of ambition and principles on how to guide the world forward. Again, the report is merely a glimpse into what we already have on the Global Opportunity Explorer. There are about 1,000 solutions right now, leadership portraits, and insights into new markets that are forming as we speak and converging. And I think that is truly something to be fascinated by. When we're working on these reports, it's a wonderful experience, actually, and I have people from the team with me here today. It's actually something where we can find trust in a common future, and it's a future that is looking onwards. It's not a future that is looking backwards. So we are always looking for new solutions, and they are all vetted and verified by experts who you can also find on the Explorer who those experts are. And I really invite as many of you that has a certain expertise within any of the fields that we cover on the Global Opportunity Explorer to join us. We need all of you because it takes a while to vet and verify 1,000 solutions, but it will also take a lot of time and resources to vet and verify the next 1,000 solutions. And those we're looking for. But the next that we're also opening up to here in 2019 is something that we call matchmaking. We're not just looking at solutions, but we're also looking at challenges. We would like you to carve out those challenges. All of the risks that you see in your own businesses and organizations, carve them out, submit them to the Global Opportunity Explorer, and then we will make sure that you will find someone that will help you and aid you in meeting those challenges. And we call this opportunities. And that is something that we're going to launch here in 2019. It's not just enough to have the solutions. You need to have the challenges there as well. So this will be a matchmaking feature that we hope that will bring a lot of value to all of you. So what can be an opportunity? It could be if you're looking for 200 engineers for one of your plants in Africa. It could be if you have a wicked problem, what is that one that is really unsolvable that you need to tackle and you can't tackle it alone. Then put it up here on the Global Opportunity Explorer and let us all in concert help you with tackling that problem. It could also be if you're a city and you want to develop yourself into a smart city, what are the solutions that should be applied? So we invite you to bring those problems and challenges and let's turn them into opportunities together. So next for us is what lies beyond Oslo, what lies here beyond today. The Global Opportunity Explorer team is embarking on what you could call a world tour. Right now we have a couple of stops locked down. We've been invited by the government in Shiga, near Kyoto, to stop by and display the Global Opportunity Explorer. PwC is hosting a large event in Tokyo, where we're also displaying the Global Opportunity Explorer. And then we're moving on to China as well, where we have several events coming along. We're opening up so we can get both more solutions and more opportunities. And it's important here to state that to us, it's not enough just to share information. It has to be an engaging story. And what we do at Sustainia, our company, is that we tell fact-based stories. Those are the only ones that are going to engage people. They can't be fiction. They have to be fact-based. And they have to be told in various channels in an engaging way. So you can help us do that. Give us every tidbit of information that you have about a particular solution, and we will help carve out the exciting story and bring it to the world.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lisa, reminding us that it's all about people, and also for taking this perspective into the strategy of the development of the organization. Because the Explorer is not only a tool, it's a way of thinking. And that really can make a change. And that has been also the inspiration for our next speaker. Because being a partner in the Global Opportunity Explorer was also one of the reasons why we managed to develop the Norwegian Explorer. And please welcome Katrine Pia Lund from Innovation Norway, showing how the Norwegian Explorer have developed a lot of solutions presented that inspire and make the difference. Please, Pia.
I'm very happy to be here today, and thank you for this initiative. Thank you for the vision. Thank you for the determination. And I want to congratulate BI, who gives us this young audience that we really need today and the years to come. The Global Opportunity Explorer is enabling companies with sustainable solutions to reach a global audience. I work in Innovation Norway, and our job is to help Norwegian companies into the global market. So we share common goal as behalf of Norway as a nation. Norway is a small country with an open economy, and we need to double export income during 2040 to keep up the standard of living we see today. And we already have so many good green and sustainable solutions in our country. But is it obvious for the world what we can bring to the table? We don't think so. And that's why we may this year launch a Norwegian Explorer, a Norwegian initiative, which was inspired by the Global Opportunity Explorer and launched together with them by our own Prime Minister, Erna Solberg. The Explorer is a digital matching service where international actors can find Norwegian solutions to their needs. And 8 months in, we are already heading somewhere. 110 Norwegian solutions is already published, and 65,000 visitors on our websites. And please, I urge you to visit theexplorer.no, because then you can see how forward-thinking Norwegian companies already are. Let me take you on a short speed date. Tourism is an increasing industry every year all over the world. the environment needs to be protected. Future of the Fjords is an all-electric sightseeing boat which can help solve the problem from water solution. And someone say that the Norwegian Opera House have got puppies because they see this boat. Empower, it's another Norwegian system which allows people to exchange plastic waste for tokens. And then they can take the tokens and change this into money. And already we have collected 8,500 kilos plastic waste due to this solution. This is Caroline. She is a hybrid fishing boat, and she cuts diesel use almost 70%. She is one of a kind. But what if we could change and replace the existing 2.5 million fishing boats in the world in her size with new Carolines? On the Explorer, we also publish stories about green and sustainable initiative from the public sector. And here's an article about how Oslo became the European Green Capital in 2019. Learnings so far. The companies are overwhelmingly positive. They are pleased to be a part of the Norwegian national team of green and sustainable innovations. But we also see positive side effects, that it increases focus on internationalization in the companies, and also raising awareness of the SDGs within the companies. Partnering with the Global Opportunity Explorer allows us to learn faster. It gives us mutual credibility, and it inspires us so we can inspire the Norwegian companies. What's next? The largest green festival in the world will take place in Berlin in May this year. Norway is a partner country, and ladies and gentlemen, 89 Norwegian companies are running for awards. 89 companies. Yeah, I agree. And the Germans said, what's happening? Norway just came as a wave. And my guess is that some of these 89 companies are next in line to be fed into the Global Opportunity Explorer to be presented for the world. In Innovation Norway, we applaud this way of thinking. And even though the challenges today is more and more complex, we will support the aim of making cooperation easier because we think there are no other way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Katrine. And also to remind us about the young people. Many talk about the young people as the leaders of tomorrow, and of course you are. But you are definitely the resources of today. And I think what we now will see is that Silja Indahl will present young entrepreneurs really developing sustainable solutions for today and for the future. So thank you very much. As the new CEO of Nordic Impact. Please.
Is it there? Hi. Hi, and thank you, Sven, and thank you for inviting me to run through a couple of solutions that we have invested in Nordic Impact. I want to start out, like I normally do, by arresting some people. Everybody on this stage is like, looked at the crowd and said, there's so many young people here. And I was told to talk about solutions from young entrepreneurs. Not all entrepreneurs are young. A lot of the solutions we see come from people who are experienced, and that is just as important. People who go into companies and make themselves have an experience of something that isn't working. And they come up with a solution, and that gives them the frustration or the energy to actually go outside and do it. So age is definitely not a criteria to come up with solutions that are innovative and disruptive. We invest in companies that use tech to improve the world. One of the reasons why we do about it is because we don't have enough time. We want the technology to scale these companies fast, to have a positive impact fast, because we care about the future society. We want to build a place we want to live. So it's not about a distant future or future generations. It's somewhere we would like to live in 2030, in 2040, and in 2050. So how do we do that? So this is a traditional business model. How you would look at it. It's the way somebody what they make of value, how they make it through their value chain and architecture, and how they make money out of it. And their question is often, who is our customers? Who are the people who are making this? Who are the people who are earning the money from this? And not necessarily why we're doing it. The why has, in traditional business sense, been profit. This is changing. And we invest in companies that swap the places of the who and the why. So if we do this, pretty fancy, huh? You put the why at the center, because that's what motivates people to go into work. We know sustainable companies are more than 20, 30% more productive. We know that they take care of the resources more. They want to cut costs to actually be more efficient because they believe in the why of why the company exists. Their customers come to them because they're trying to solve a bigger problem. And they know who owns the problem and who will be part of earning the value from that being solved, and also who's willing to pay for the solving of that problem, which is the key to build a profitable and a sustainable business model. So it's about creating that positive impact into this future of society. It's about solving real problems better than they have been solved before, using impact investing as a tool for our sense to move capital for good in society, showing that sustainable companies are profitable, so more people want to invest in them, so that we, in the end, can have all companies and all capital working for a better world, and then using exponential technology that allows these companies to scale faster and get more profitable faster and have a greater impact in the world faster. And as Lisa Kingle mentioned, we have no time for incremental innovation anymore. So we used to innovate a product or a process, and now we're innovating the business model. So when each of these bubbles change so drastically that the rest of the business model has to change, that's when we see disruption of industries. And those are the companies that are part of making this shift. So I want to talk about three trends in the companies we've invested in that I think is key to this collection. And the one thing is getting things right. So I want to draw you all back to ancient Greece and Aristotle's nature philosophy. So Aristotle thought that when we place material in the wrong place, when we have displacement of material, we create chaos in the universe. What have we done? We have food wasted, we have too much CO2 in the atmosphere, and we have definitely too much plastic in the ocean. We have displaced things. So a lot of the entrepreneurs we see are very motivated of getting things right again, placing things correctly from the way they design things to begin with. So one of the solutions we have in our batches of the accelerator, so we also do impact investing, but we also run this accelerator, a 3-month program for startups who are impact-driven and using scalable tech. They come to us, they're there for 3 months, and we help them to scale. Delegate is a solution from Sweden with Adam Wikström as their founder, and he is using digital tools to actually make a sort of a retail store library. So if you own ICA, which is one of their partners, you could actually see which goods are expiring, which dates, and you could bring them forth, so you would reduce the food waste. We have Choose, which is a Norwegian startup that many of you know of. They were recently invited by Richard Branson to go to Necker Island, and has also been part of one of our batches. They deliver a subscription model for CO2 offsetting. So you can pay a monthly subscription, and they will offset, I think I pay, and they offset 4 times my carbon emission. But what they don't use the certificate that you pay for. They take them out of the CO2 market. So in the time when we have a well-operating CO2 scheme, they would actually drive up the price of CO2 by giving the public an ability to be part of that. And then, of these type of solution, last but not least, it's the ocean bottle, which is part of our Catapult Ocean Accelerator at the moment. And I have with me William and Nick. Could you please stand up? So the founders are actually present here today, so go talk to them. This is the first bottle of its kind. So normally, you know, a lot of the reusable bottles are campaigned and promoted by having to say that, okay, you use this bottle every time and you use less plastic. What they've done is they've built a partnership with Plastic Bank to sort of build the infrastructure for collecting plastic. So for every bottle you pay for, which is only about 400 NOK, they will actually collect 11 kilos of plastic, or 11.3.6 or something. Yeah. So they're actually removing the plastic. You're not only reducing your own footprint, but they're helping cleaning it up and getting things right again. The next trend we see, and something we work a lot with, is making the tent bigger. So actually including more people into the conversations, including more people into the solutions, and as we talk about in the SDGs agenda, to leave nobody behind. So this is one of the things we try to do when we organize the Catapult Future Fest event every year, bringing global thinkers together, solution makers, and the people who really want to move money for the good of the world. And we have two solutions that actually were established at Catapult Future Fest through a hackathon where we cooperated with both Innovation Norway and UN Women. And one of them is Divala, which is actually building a decentralized digital platform for refugees so they can track their skills and get work even when they're displaced from their local communities. So a very crucial way forward to enable people and to leave nobody behind, even if they can't stay where they were grown up. Another solution is Whippy Cash that was also came out from the same hackathon. And this was actually one of the founders, so Olivier Mukata in the corner here. He was a refugee from the civil war in Congo. And he was very frustrated that if somebody sent 100 kroners of a family, it was only 30 kroners that got to them. So people were taking their cut along the way, but at the end they were just happy that some of the money got through. So they're making it easier through blockchain and the technology to actually trace the money so that it gets the whole sum of money transferred to families in Asia and Africa. So with that, the last trend I want to pinpoint here, and I think that this is incredibly important. So if you're sitting here and you have an idea of how you can solve some of these challenges or bring a solution for the future, it's really important that you design what's next into what's now. That you design a solution for the future we look forward to living in, but that you design it in a way that the business model is still profitable today. There's a lot of entrepreneurs saying, yes, when the CO2 scheme is in place and we have the carbon price and the price of natural resources, my business model will be super profitable. It's like, yes, but you cannot guarantee that that will happen in their time. So you have to figure out a way to make a commercial model that works under today's market conditions, but still is going to be a solution for the future. And I think that's very key moving on. But this is also why we see some of the solutions for the future dressing up like the solutions of today. So one of the investments we also made is in Memphis Meat, who's just made the first lab-grown meatball with Uma Valetti as their founder. And it's interesting to see that it is a solution for the future, but they're presenting it like the things we're familiar with, like meat. And we've invested through Memphis Meat in one of the venture capital funds we're in, together with Bill Gates and Richard Branson, so we're in good company. And I would thank you for giving me this time, and I would leave you with the three sort of backdrops, and that is getting it right again, including everyone, and designing what's next into what's now. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Silja. And this is only the beginning. Now we have a short bio break. We start at 1:30, and please come back. Telenor, the governing mayor, 3 panels, finance, smart cities, good cities, and not forget the future of education. So we start at 1:30. Have a nice break.